ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome to the life lessons from Srimad Bhagavatam, our weekly Bhagavatam class for the youth. And we are discussing Samudra Manthan Leela, which appears in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam from chapter 5 to chapter 12. So currently we are reading the chapter number 8 of this Leela, which is the churning of milk ocean. And especially this particular chapter is called the churning of milk ocean because most of the byproducts of this churning appear in this particular chapter. Last session we discussed that how when the churning first began, it began with poison coming out of the churning, and then how Lord Shiva accepted that poison for the welfare of humanity. Tapyante lokatapena sadhava prayasha jana param adharadhanam tadhi purushasya akilatmanam. That the best way of pleasing the Lord is to accept inconveniences, discomfort, and difficulties for helping others advance in spiritual life, for the welfare of others. So Lord Shiva, he did the highest act of compassion, took risks, and pleased the Lord. Further on, the churning carried on with greater enthusiasm, and this time uh, the first thing to appear was Uchchaishrava horse. Bali Maharaj and the demons, they seized it. Then it was followed by Airavat, which again the demons wanted to seize, but then Lord intervened and said, okay, let there be uh, uh, equal sharing. So let Indra take it. Then further on, before Airavat, Surabhi cow appeared, and these Surabhi cows were donated to the sages because these sages could make the right use of the cows because they are engaged in performing sacrifices for the pleasure of the Lord and for the welfare of humanity. And the ghee produced from the cows is very essential ingredient of sacrifices. So any enterprise establishment that is run should have that element of spiritual and social responsibility. So we see here the big enterprise of Samudra Manthan is happening, and the first thing they did is charity of the first constructive ingredient of um, the cows was given to charity to the sages, and then followed by Uchchaishrava, the horse, and Eravat, the elephant. Then it was followed by 16 other elephants, and then the Apsaras appeared, and then finally Mother Lakshmi has appeared, and it's a great festival, the appearance of Mother Lakshmi, which has been celebrated. So when Mother Lakshmi appears, so there is an Abhishek ceremony which is being performed. Indra comes and offers her an asan to sit. Ganga and Yamuna, their personified forms, come to offer Abhishek with the best of their waters, which is scented with lotuses and other beautiful flowers. So that scented flower is water offered as Abhishek to Mother Lakshmi. And while this Abhishek is happening, there is chanting of Vedic mantras by the Brahmanas, there is singing and dancing performed by the Gandharvas and Apsaras. The spring season personified comes and brings fruits for Abhishek, different fruit juices, and honey for Abhishek. And while singing and dancing is happening, there has to be kettle drums and panavas and mridangas. So the clouds personified, they are playing these instruments. And now, Chakri Thakur describes that there were two forms of Lakshmi. One is the Shriyaha, who is the goddess of fortune, who is the goddess of all opulences, all wealth, all riches, all beauty, everything, which attracts everyone's attention because everyone is attracted towards glamour, glitter, and gold. So she is the goddess of fortune. So no doubt she was attracted to one and all. But she had another form which was not visible to the common people. That form was of Rama, which is the goddess who is the consort of Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, who is the chaste wife of Narayan, who gives pleasure to Narayan. So this Rama was not accessible to impure souls. So everyone desired Shriya, the goddess of fortune, who is the provider of wealth and opulences. But goddess of fortune did not desire them. So, whom did she desire? That we will discuss in today's discussion. So, as the Abhishek has been performed, and Samudra, Varuna, who is the father of Mother Lakshmi, because she appeared from Varuna, he brings in yellow silken cloths for decorating his daughter. So she, dazzles in that yellow silken cloth like a lightning, and then like a lightning, she's chanchala. So she is roaming around to find a suitable match. She's scouting who would be a suitable master, who will be a suitable husband for me, who would be the suitable pati for me. So we'll read text 17 onwards. तथा कृतस्वस्त्ययनोत्पलसृजं न दद्विरेफां परिगृह्य पाणिना चचालवक्त्रं सुकपोलकुण्डलं सव्रीडहासं दधाति सुशोभनम्. So it says that thereafter Mother Lakshmi, having been properly celebrated with an auspicious ritualistic ceremony, began moving about holding in her hand a garland of lotus flowers which was surrounded by humming bumblebees. Smiling with shyness, her cheeks decorated by her earrings, she looked extremely beautiful. So the word to be accounted for here is chachala. She was moving about. She's chanchala. She was moving about and assessing each and every person that whether they are a suitable match for her. It is said she appeared like a creeper of gold because she was so delicate, so tender, yet she was so dazzling. So verse number 19 says, while walking among Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, Siddhas, Charnas, denizens of heaven, Lakshmi Devi was scrutinizingly examining them, but she could not find anyone naturally endowed with all good qualities. None of them was devoid of faults, and therefore she could not take shelter of any of them. So everyone, each one whom she came across, she didn't find them to be infallible. There were some faults, some flaws, shortcomings in each one of them. And therefore, she could not accept them as a worthy shelter. Then, in the further verses from 20th to 22nd, Shukdev Goswami describes what are the various characteristics she saw in different people and what was the reasoning behind her not accepting them. So, this beautiful verse it says, Nunam tapo yasya manyuka nirjayo Jnanam kvachit tachana sanga varjitam kaschin maham sasya kam nirjaya sa ishvara kim parato vyapashraya. So she saw some people, they were very austere. In fact, they were not very fickle. They were very austere, but they had not conquered anger. And the example given is Durvasa Rishi. So she saw that one quality in a person who is suitable to take shelter is that they should be sense controlled. They should not be carried away by their sensual urges. Hmm? So someone who is himself um a puppet cannot be a master. Hmm? A puppet is already controlled. A puppet which is already controlled cannot be a master. So she first saw that anyone she would take shelter should not be a puppet, should not be controlled by the urges of the senses. And she wanted someone who is austere. But then she found people like Durvasa Rishi who were austere, but at the same time they had not conquered anger. So Kama is lust, and Kama Nuja is anger, the younger brother of lust. So there were some people who had conquered the elder brother, lust, but they had not conquered over the younger brother, anger. Because one of the 11 places where anger resides is austerity. There are 11 places where anger resides. The five elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. You see the earthquakes. That's where Rudra principle or the anger principle. When Mother Nature becomes angry and upset with the sinful activities of humanity, the scriptures describe that there are calamities, earthquakes. Uh, so anger, Rudra principle is in there in the earth. Then water, tsunamis, uh, etc., floods. So there is Rudra in water. Fire, there are forest fires which burn down forests and even towns. Then there is the water, the air element, so tornadoes, hurricanes, etc. Then the space element. Hmm. So there are the space element, I would say, in the form of Mm, could be calamities from the space, coming from the space, right? Yeah, there could be comets, etc. So falling down. So the anger principle is there, the Rudra principle is there in the five elements. Then it is there in the sun and the moon, and so the tides are caused, the sun's scorching heat, etc. So one of the elements where anger resides, Rudra principle is activated, is austerity. So when someone is too austere, when someone fasts hmm, a lot, by default, one's senses are imbued with some anger. Because when one has conquered the lust, it backfires to create anger. So that person becomes easily irritated. Unless one's austerities are directed towards performing devotional service, that austerity is bound to cause anger. Hmm? So then she moved ahead, Chachala. Then she was looking, another quality which she felt is important is knowledge. She didn't want to marry an ignorant fool, right? So she wanted to marry someone who is in knowledge, who is intelligent, who is wise. But she found that people who have knowledge, sometimes that knowledge remains gyan, not vigyan. They have knowledge, but they don't have realization. They still carry material desires, although knowing the truth of this material world, they are still attached. Example given is Brahaspati. Brahaspati is the priest of the Devatas, someone who is a teacher of the Devatas, but it is said that he also becomes attached to getting remuneration as a priest. And there have been some pastimes where there has been some conflict between Indra and Brahaspati, where because Brahaspati he said that I'll be don't perform the yajna unless I come. So he was busy performing a yajna somewhere else because there he was getting some remuneration. So it is described that although knowledge is there, the application is sometimes found to be missing. So she could not care more for someone like this. Then another quality she felt was uh, the person whom I should be taking shelter of should not be an ordinary person, should be a great personality, should be a famous personality, an influential personality. Hmm? So, yes, we are all looking for influence, becoming influencers. So, she was thinking that I should marry someone who is a big influencer. And she found that influencer to be the biggest influencer in this universe is Brahmaji, because he influences everyone. He is the creator in this universe. But she found that even though he's the influencer, he is influenced by lusty desires sometimes, because he got influenced by lust when he got attracted towards Vak. So again, she moved ahead, and then she thought that sometimes there are influencers who are great people, who are powerful people, but they still depend on others. Example, Indra. Indra is a great influencer, powerful person, but he is dependent on his ministers and other devatas, right? So they are not independent in themselves. Then another quality she uh, was considering is knowledge of religion. Hmm? That the person should be having knowledge of what is dharma and what is adharma, what is to be done, what is not to be done. But then she looked at Shukracharya. That Shukracharya did have the knowledge of religion, just as Brahaspati had knowledge, but he had the shortcoming of being attached to remuneration. So she saw that Shukracharya also had knowledge, but he was not kind to the living entities. He utilized his knowledge for nourishing the demons who were destroying the innocent people. So she felt that sometimes people misutilize knowledge. Even though they have knowledge, they end up using knowledge for their own sectarian, egoistic purposes, and which is a very relevant scenario today, where the greatest weapons of mass destruction and distraction have been created by the scientists who have knowledge. Then she considered uh, that what if someone who has great strength, bahubal, that is one other characteristic, strength. But then she's thinking, what is the point of being strong if the time factor is going to take away all your strength? Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, disease and death and old age, they take away one's strength. So she thought example of Kartivirya Arjun, who although was the most powerful person, he even defeated Ravan. So Kartivirya Arjun, he took Ravan in his armpit and performed Gayatri. So that is the power of Kartivirya Arjun, but he was killed by Parshuram. So she was thinking of, okay, this person, he doesn't have, he has strength, but he doesn't have long life. But what about someone who has long life? Hmm? So there are people who are long lived, but they don't have good behavior. For example, Ashwathama is a Chiranjeevi. He's long lived, but what is he doing? He killed the sleeping sons of Pandavas, right? Hmm. Okay, but then if someone has good behavior, Can I marry them? The sons and daughters of Manu, they have good behavior, but they have short span of life. So the perfect combination of the lock is not, lock का पूरा combination खुल नहीं रहा है. किसी में strength है तो वो काल के सामने उसकी strength फीकी पड़ जाती है. किसी के पास लॉन्ग लाइफ है तो गुड बिहेवियर नहीं है, किसी के पास गुड बिहेवियर है तो लॉन्ग लाइफ नहीं है. और चलो किसी के पास लॉन्ग लाइफ है, इटर्नल लाइफ है, but they have inauspicious habits. For example, Lord Shiva, he is eternal, but then I don't want to stay in a crematorium. This is what Lakshmiji is thinking. And then she is thinking that there are people who are having good behavior and long life. Long life भी है, good behavior भी है, सब कुछ है, but they are not compatible. For example, Kumaras, they are small kids. They are impersonalists. The Kumaras, they are attracted to the impersonal Brahman. How they will be able to appreciate my opulences of beauty and prosperity? For them, beauty and prosperity is of no use. So, such people are also out of question. So then she is, after roaming around and to the entire bandwagon in the assembly, she realizes none of these people are fit to be my husband, my consort. So then she sees Lord Vishnu. And then what she says a beautiful verse. She says, Sumangalaha kaschana kankshate himam. There are that there is one person who has all of these qualities, which I considered as criteria. He has Sumangala. All the auspicious qualities are there. He is sense controlled. Of course, he is Atmaram. He is Aptakam. He doesn't need anything from anyone. He is not in need of anything. He is the source of all knowledge. He is the greatest person. He is the controller of Brahma. He is the influencer of the influencers. He has perfect knowledge of religion. He has renunciation. He has strength. He has eternal life. He has the best of behavior. But he has one shortcoming still. So Lord Vishnu has all of these good qualities: knowledge, renunciation, sense control, good behavior, longevity. Everything is there, but he has one shortcoming, which also is an ornament. Sumangala Kaschana Kankshate Himam. That he has all the good qualities, but he has one shortcoming: he doesn't desire me. Which it is called Vyajastuti. It appears that she is criticizing, but actually she is glorifying. She is saying, look, Lord Vishnu, although he has all desirable qualities, and I desire him, but he doesn't desire me. All of these people standing in front, all of them desire me, but I don't desire them. I desire Vishnu, but Vishnu doesn't desire me. He is Atmaram. He is saying, if you want, I can accept you, I can think about it. But it is not that he is anxious to marry me. So that is Mother Lakshmi's perspective. So when Lord Ram, he broke the Dhanush, the Shiv chap, when he broke that down, that time Janak Maharaj, he prepared that, marry my daughter. Lord Ram said, without permission of elders, how can I marry? So Vishwamitra Muni, he said, blessings granted. So Lord Ram then accepted order of Guru. So the garland, the Swayamvar happened, and then Sita Maya had to offer this garland, and Lord Ram is tall. So she wants to offer this garland, but Lord Ram is not going down. So if you want, you can marry me. I am not someone who will bow down to me. So this is what Lakshmiji is saying, that he is the abode of all good qualities, but he is not in need of me. I am in need of him. So what is Lakshmiji teaching all of us here? Lakshmiji, through her example, is teaching to us that we all are also looking for shelter in this world, and we mm, we become a little too uh, impatient in accepting a shelter, and end up accepting a shelter as someone who from the externals appears to be attractive, but we have not done a foolproof assessment. We project our expectations of that complete shelter on an ordinary person, and later only to get frustrated. So Mother Lakshmi is teaching us that Utsahat Nishchayat Dhairyat. She was very enthusiastic to find the suitable match. She was determined, but she also had Dhairya. She went through the entire hosts of devatas, demons, everyone, and then into she waited for Lord Vishnu. Hmm? So similarly, all of us, we are looking for that shelter. Hmm? But if we project our expectation of that complete shelter on an ordinary person, it is injustice to them and injustice to ourselves, because they cannot fit the shoes, so to speak, of Lord Vishnu. They cannot uh, rise up to meet our expectations. We'll find shortcomings, we'll find them to fall short of our expectations. So it is an injustice to them and injustice to ourselves. We deserve much better. We deserve the shelter of Lord Vishnu. So this is what Lakshmi ji is teaching us. Another thing she is teaching us is that when we uh, accept Krishna consciousness, when we accept Krishna as our only Pati, only Master, we should not do it just by hearsay or just by public opinion or fashion. We should have strong reason and conviction behind why we are accepting Krishna only as our eternal master. Hmm. So she did not whimsically just go and garland Krishna or Vishnu in a stereotyped way. Okay, Vishnu, I heard, is the Supreme Lord. No, she assessed why is it that others are not fit? Why is it that only Vishnu is fit? So she assessed and then came to this conclusion. Vinirnaya. She assessed properly. So mm, it is said, there's this verse in the third canto of the Bhagavatam, which says, uh, Bhukta bhoga parityakta drishta dosha cha nitya uh, ashubham datte swe mahimni sitasya cha. Bhukta bhoga, the living entity with all the impressions of enjoying in this world but getting frustrated. He realizes this is not what I am looking for. Drishta dosha, seeing all the faults in all of one's avenues for sense enjoyment or all the fallible shelters of this world. By analyzing all of them, that they are all faulty, the shelters of this world, the pleasures of this world, after analyzing all of them, one becomes mature and comes to the conclusion, Swe Mahimni Sthitasya. One situates in one's constitutional position of being a servant of the Supreme Lord. Hmm? So Lakshmi Devi is also teaching us that let us not be uh, uh, blind followers on the path of bhakti. Let us not be blind followers on the path of spirituality. Let us have firm conviction based on reasoning, and philosophy for why we have chosen Krishna as our eternal shelter. And we should be able to defend our decision against all odds, against all challenges, against all arguments and debate. So Rukmini Devi, when she accepted Krishna as her husband, she gave a lot of reasons to Krishna. Why Krishna? I want you only. Shrutva gunan bhuvana sundara shrinmatam te nirvishya karna vivarai haratong tapam rupam drasham drishimatam akhilatha labham tvai achyuta vishati chittam apatram me. She says, I have sufficiently heard about your glories and your qualities. Hmm? And the perfection of these eyes are to see your beautiful form. Hmm? And I want to dedicate my life. Even though it may appear that I am shameless, but yes, even if I am called out like that, I don't mind. I need and I want you only as my husband. Later on, when Lord Krishna, in a joking way, he challenged Rukmini. Oh, Rukmini Devi, you have made a wrong decision. I'm sorry to say that I'm telling you a little late. So by this time, she already had grandchildren. But Krishna, as he's always uh, Tribhanga. He's bent at three places. So he has his ways of testing his devotees. So he tested Rukmini. He said, Rukmini, I am not a suitable match for you. Actually, I just married you to take revenge on Shishupal and Jarasandha. I was not interested in you. I was interested in, uh, insulting Shishupal and Jarasandha. Actually, what is the match between you and me? See, look, you are having a beautiful golden complexion, and I have a darkish black complexion. Hmm. You are the princess of Vidarbha, and I am just a cowherd boy. Um and you are the daughter of a king, whereas I have just been running away. I have been hmm, just uh, escapist. I have run chhod raha hai. I have hidden in the ocean. So I'm a coward, not a courageous king. So he gave so many reasons. Hmm. Later on, Rukmini Devi, first she fainted. Hmm. She could not stand this kind of a proposition because she understood Krishna has always is planning to go to Vrindavan, and this might be an excuse for him. So, but she then, when Krishna sprinkled water on her and held her in his arms, she realized he's not going anywhere. He's there with me. And then, point by point, she started defeating each and every argument which Krishna gave. She said, oh, you said you have run away and you are hiding in the ocean. Yes, you hide in the hearts of your devotees, hmm, which are not reachable, by the thieves of anarthas. So she gives point by point uh, argument. She says that you are telling that I should have married Shishupal and or probably other kings who are much more chivalrous and powerful. She said, "What are these kings? What are the men of this world? They are simply packaged with some skin and hairs, masquerade, some mustache and beard on the skin. But what is there inside the skin? Bones, flesh, blood, pus, stool, urine, all of these obnoxious substances, which, if the covering is removed, will be attacked by flies and worms." So she said, did you want me to marry them? I would never. You are my only master. So a devotee should have this conviction behind why he is choosing Krishna. It should not be a sentimental decision, but a philosophically informed decision. Make sense, Prabhuji?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
Supreme Master.
Supreme Master. So now Lakshmi ji is then united with Narayan, and 25th verse beautifully tells us that what benediction is offered to the entire world by this union of Lakshmi Narayan. तस्या श्रियात्रि जगतो जनको जनन्या वक्षो निवासमकरोत् परमं विभूते श्रीस्वप्रजा सकुरणेन निरीक्षणेन यत्र स्थितैधयत साधिपतिं श्रीलोकाम्. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the father of the three worlds, and his bosom is the residence of Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the proprietor of all opulences. The goddess of fortune, by her favorable and merciful glance, can increase the opulences of the three worlds along with their inhabitants and their directors, the demigods. When Mother Lakshmi resides on the chest Vakshasthala of Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, her glance is favorable and merciful. And that merciful and favorable glance offers increases all the opulences of the three worlds. And she is the one who gives opulences to even the devatas who give opulences to us. Indra, who gives rain which creates food grains, he gets his opulence from Lakshmi by her favorable glance. But when will that favorable glance come? When she is residing on the chest of Lord Vishnu. But if she is separated from Lord Vishnu, the same glance will be destroying the person, which happened in the case of Lanka and Ravan. Lanka, Ravan tried to separate Sita from Ram, and and he actually brought Lakshmi right in his kingdom. What more could you ask for? On Diwali, people, day of Deepavali, people separate Sita and only Lakshmi and worship her. But Ravan also did that. He wanted to enjoy only Sita. But then her glance, it burned down the entire Lanka and Ravan and his entire lineage. So we should aspire for the glance of Mother Lakshmi when she is seated on the chest of Lord Vishnu. So we cannot separate Sita, Ram, Lakshmi, Narayan, and Radha Krishna. So while the devatas and the devotees were blessed by Lakshmi's glance, the demons were frustrated because they also wanted to attain Lakshmi. They were also interested in getting Lakshmi. They thought just like we can obtain the other apsaras, etc. We want to obtain this Lakshmi also. But little did they realize that this Lakshmi is meant only for the pleasure of Narayan. So the 29th verse says, because of being neglected by the goddess of fortune, the demons and Rakshasas were depressed, bewildered, and frustrated, and thus they became shameless. They were bereft of the merciful glance of Lakshmi Devi. The Devatas, they approached Lakshmi as the consort of Vishnu, and therefore they received the merciful glance and their opulence increased. But the demons, they had a bad eye on Lakshmi. They were casting a bad eye on her, and therefore they became depressed, bewildered, and frustrated. And then they became shameless. So that is what happens when someone uh, eyes to get only Lakshmi without Narayan. And then it is described अथासीद वारुणी देवी कन्या कमललोचना असुरा जगृहु तांबई हरे अनुमतेन तेरे. Beautiful. Next, what appeared? Lakshmi has been married to Lord Narayan. She is now settled, massaging Narayan's feet and being situated with him. Next appeared Varuni Devi, the goddess who controls drunkards. Hmm. The demons headed by Bali Maharaj immediately took possession of this girl. They were they didn't waste a moment in seizing this Varuni who controls the demons, because when people have when people want to um, you know kind of So this is a response. When people have broken love, they want to get someone in their life, they cannot get, they end up drinking. So this is what they did. They wanted Lakshmi, but their frustrated love led them to become drunkards. So this is the natural response when you are frustrated in your attempts to capture Lakshmi. When people want to become rich, famous, powerful, and enjoy, and they are unable to do, then वो गम गलत करने के लिए क्या करते हैं? They drink. So they took charge of Varuni and then मिल बैठे 3 यार. Yeah. Now is the crescendo, the final samambunam. What is happening is, thereafter, while the sons of Kashyapa, both demons and demigods, were engaged in churning the milk ocean, a very wonderful male person appeared. The description of this person: he was strongly built, his arms were long, stout, and strong. His neck, which was marked with 3 lines, resembled a conch shell. His eyes were reddish. His complexion was blackish. He was very young, garlanded with flowers, and his entire body was fully decorated with various ornaments. He was dressed in yellow garments and wore brightly polished earrings made of pearls. The tips of his hair were anointed with oil, and his chest was very broad. His body had all good features. He was stout and strong like a lion, and he was decorated with bangles. In his hand, he carried a jug filled to the top with nectar. So, whom are we talking of? Lord Dhanvantari, the Lord of the science of Ayurveda. Lord Dhanvantari personally appears with the jug filled to the top with nectar. This person was Dhanvantari, a plenary portion of Lord Vishnu. He was very conversant with the science of medicine, and as one of the demigods, he was permitted to take a share in sacrifices. So now Lord Dhanvantari has appeared, and it is interesting that he is the original Ayurvedic doctor. Any Ayurvedic doctor would recommend you, would personally actually, Ayurvedic doctors, they personally worship Lord Dhanvantari before giving any advice, starting their practice. They are supposed to worship Dhanvantari because it is him who inspires the right diagnosis to them, right medicine to them. And even a patient who takes Ayurvedic medicines is required to Om Dhanvantraya Namaha. Remember Lord Dhanvantari and then take the medicine. Then it really works wonders. So Lord Dhanvantari, original Ayurvedic doctor, he brought the nectar, which means that uh, where did this nectar come? This nectar came from the churning of the herbs which were cast in this milk ocean. So the natural ingredients which are provided by nature, milk, herbs, all of them have life-giving juices and nectar. So if there's any ailment, if you have an expert physician, he would know which herb is a remedy for that kind of an ailment. Hmm? So Lord Dhanvantari, he delivered the nectar which appeared from the churning of these herbs. So all medicinal properties are present in herbs and milk. So how do we use them? It will, it is dependent on that. So now verse 35 tells us that now Dhanvantari has appeared and he has got the the prize money in the form of the jug of nectar is there in the hands of Dhanvantari. The demons, desiring the jug and all of its contents, they pounced and snatched away the nectar by force. And Lord Dhanvantari, as if powerless, he just allowed it to happen. It was his Leela, pastime. And when this happened, the Devatas became very, very morose and grief stricken because everything they had worked so hard for with the desire to become powerful again. Everything like which they thought that would be used for them to wrest power again from the demons has now actually tilted towards the benefit of the demons. So instead of getting more power, that greater power has now gone into the hands of the miscreants, the demons. They became morose, and what they could do, they could simply turn to Krishna, Lord Hari, that look, we simply followed your instruction. Hmm. Now you are capable of uplifting us from this situation. So the next verse is very beautiful. इति तद्दैन्यमालोक्य भगवान् वृत्तकामकृत् मा खिद्यत मिथोत्थं व साधयसे स्वमाया तद्दैन्यम आलोक्य. Seeing their dainya, their grief and moroseness, Bhagwan, who is Bhagwan? Vritya Kamakrit. Vritya means servant, Kama means desire, Krit means fulfill. He is a fulfiller of the desire of the servant. Actually, what is the servant supposed to do? Fulfill the desires of the master. But a devotee has such a master who fulfills the desires of his servant. So he says, Masucha, he tells Arjuna, isn't it? He tells Arjuna, don't worry. Whatever, like I have already destroyed all of these Kauravas. Just be an instrument. Yeah. So, Purvamaiva. Beforehand only I have killed them. So, you just be an instrument. So, similarly, Lord Vishnu is telling them, Ma Khidyata, Ma Shucha. Don't fear. I will, take care of this. Sadhyeshe Swamaya. I will now create dissension and quarrel among these demons by my Maya Shakti. You just see the fun. Mehuna. Mehuna. So this is how Lord Krishna, a devotee should not become morose under any circumstances. If we have sincerely followed the Lord's instructions, if we have been sticking to the path of bhakti, if we have been sticking to the path of dharma rakshati rakshata. Someone who protects dharma is protected by dharma. Someone who practices bhakti is protected by bhakti. However difficult and um, tormenting the situation may appear to be, one should continue with faith. So Lord is saying, Ma Kidyata, I will take care of this. So he creates dissension amongst the demons. Mitha kalira bhutesham tadarthe tarsha chetasam aham purvam natvam iti prabho. So Lord, in the form of the mode of passion and ignorance, ignited the fire of the sparks of dissension. Because it is easy for the sinful to be cooperative. Hmm. It is easy for the sinful to come together and form associations because they all have a very um, strong allegiance to a common goal, which is selfish enjoyment, right? So they will align and cooperate very much, very nicely. They will cooperate and align, but as long as they don't get the power and the pleasure. As soon as the power and pleasure comes, that's when the fighting starts. Hmm? And then they will destroy each other. Mitha kali abhutesham. Because they are tarsha chetasha. Because they are selfish. So when people are driven by selfish passions, they may cooperate very nicely. For I scratch my back, you scratch me. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. But then, as soon as there's a conflict of interest, hmm, they will cooperate nicely to keep the good people at bay, to check the good people. But once they get the power, once they get the resources, they will be the first to kill each other. And that is what happened here with the demons. because they are selfishly motivated. Who says selfish people cannot cooperate? Selfish people cooperate very nicely, hmm, till the time the other person doesn't interrupt their selfish enjoyment. Hmm. Whereas for the good people, it is difficult to cooperate. Hmm. Because they tend to be indifferent to each other. They feel that, okay, I'm doing my thing, you do your thing. But they should realize that just as the sinful people they cooperate so nicely, hmm, it is more important for us to come together and cooperate. Otherwise, we will never be able to overpower them. Uh, so the demons, they cooperated, but it was just a temporary compromise to keep the divine at bay. But then they start fighting. Now they're saying aham purvam, aham purvam. Amongst devotees also there is this thought of aham purvam, aham purvam. There is this shloka in the 10th canto, 11th chapter of the Bhagavatam, where the Gopas, they are having a competition that who will go and touch Krishna first. That sometimes Krishna would go to a very scenic place and rush ahead and go to a particular nice place from where there would be a nice scenery of Vrindavan while herding the cows, and then he would call the Gopas that come see how the waterfall looks from this place, how the mountain looks from this place, and then the Gopas would come rushing, aham purvam iti samsprishya re mere, that I will touch Krishna first, I will touch Krishna first. And this spiritual competition helped them to run faster towards Krishna. Yadi duram gata Krishna vana shobhekshanayam aham purvam iti samsprishya re mere. Yadi dura gata Krishna, if Krishna ventured far away, vana shobhekshanayam, to see the beauty and the blossoming forest, the cowherd boys would have competition to touch Krishna. So here also there is a lot of competition. What is the competition? Aham purvam. Aham purvam natvam natvam. What is the difference? There, I will touch Krishna first. I will touch Krishna first. Hmm? Here it is, I will get nectar, not you. Right? There they want to touch Krishna first, but they want to inspire each other to touch Krishna first. It is not I versus you. It is I and you. Let us together go and touch Krishna first. Hmm? Where he is, here it is I versus you. What is the reason? Because material resources are limited. Either I will get or you will get, isn't it? So there will always be this competition. There will always be this conflict of interest. But when it comes to spiritual life, Krishna is Swarat, unlimited. So he is Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. He is complete whole. Even if he gives himself completely to one devotee, the other devotee also receives Krishna in full. Right? So it never becomes I versus you. It becomes I and you. Let you and me together approach Krishna. There's no competition. So now the demons are fighting bitterly, punching and pounding each other, and they are throwing the nectar just so that someone else doesn't get it. If they are being cornered, they would throw the nectar and someone else would catch it, and that's how a very very ghastly quarrel fight is taking place. And seeing this, the weaker demons are becoming morose कि अपना नंबर तो लगेगा ही नहीं. हाँ कि then they started thinking that now the quarrel is between these big boys. We don't stand any chance. So then they thought, let us apply some diplomacy. So these weaker demons said, all the devatas have also taken part in this Samudra Manthan. How can you all be so unethical? Everyone has an equal right to partake in any public sacrifice according to the eternal dharmic religious systems principles. So now it is befitting that the demigods now also have some share of the nectar, because they know if the devatas get something in between, we will also get something. Otherwise, we don't stand any chance. So demons are demons, strong or weak. The strong demons, they use sheer power. They are dictators. The weaker demons, they use hypocrisy and diplomacy. So this Kali is an age of quarrel and hypocrisy, which is in full swing here in this scene. The stronger demons are quarreling, and the weaker demons are having hypocrisy, where, oh, these demigods should also get. But what is their motivation? That we should get. So Lord has sufficiently bewildered all of these demons. And therefore, after bewildering them, he further appears in the form of absolute bewilderment. What is the form of absolute bewilderment? Mohini Murti. Mohini means bewilderment. Sammohan, bewilderment. So she is the personified form of bewilderment which can bewilder anyone, even up to Lord Shiva. Right? So when Krishna takes it upon himself to protect his devotees, to fulfill the desire of his devotees, Britya Kamakrit, when he takes it upon himself, yeah, I want to fulfill the desire of my devotee, he will not leave any stone unturned. He will use any, solution in the book, out of the book, right? So this 41st to 46th verse describes the form of Mohini Murti, but it begins with a very beautiful word. Etasmin antare Vishnu sarvopaya vid Ishvara. Etasmin, now at this point of time, antare appeared Vishnu. Who is Vishnu? Sarva upaya with Ishvara. He is the supreme controller, Ishvara, who is Sarva upaya with. Sarva upaya. Upaya means solution. Sarva upaya means all solution. So he is the ultimate problem solver, who can solve all problems and use all solutions. Hmm? Which, like, there's no solution which he will not resort to. If he wants to serve the interest of his devotees, he will go to any extent. Any extent. Lord, who is known as Purusha, Lord Vishnu is known as Purusha. All of us are Prakriti. But if there is a situation where his devotees' interests are at stake, the Supreme Purusha doesn't mind becoming Prakriti female. Isn't it amazing that what the Lord will not do to fulfill the interests of his devotees? So this shows the Bhakta Vatsalya of Sri Krishna. He is Bhagavan Bhratya Kamakrit. He is the fulfiller of all the desires of his devotees. Although a Bhratya is supposed to fulfill the desire of the master, but here his Bhagavan Bhratya Kamakrit. He will not leave any stone unturned to fulfill the desire of his devotees. And he is Sarvopaya with Ishvara. All solutions are, he has all the feathers in his cap. What card he will use, he can use any card. So in the battle of Kurukshetra, what trick of the trade didn't he apply? When it came to the point of the danger to the life of Arjuna, he broke his own promise and lifted his Rathangapani, who lifted the chariot wheel as a weapon to protect him from Bhishma. And he stopped the sun from setting, right? He covered the sun to protect Arjuna from, having to commit suicide in order to kill Jayadratha. So Sarva Upaya with Ishvara. He will not, leave any stone unturned. He will not, mm, you know, uh, avoid any solution. Whatever it takes, I will do it for my devotee. So therefore, a devotee should have complete faith in the protection and plan of the Lord. However treacherous, however twists and turns the journey may have, however many twists and turns the journey may have, a devotee should know ultimately Krishna will have the last word. So, so Lord Krishna, he appeared in this beautiful form, the description of which is also bewildering. That how beautiful Lord Vishnu is. In fact, Prabhupada writes that Lord Vishnu is so beautiful that even Mother Lakshmi fainted in, in front of Lord Vishnu. So the acharyas they write that if Lord Vishnu is the supreme Purusha, but when he wants to take the form of the feminine Prakriti, he can take such a form that even Mother Lakshmi may be amazed to see his beauty or her beauty. Uh, so that is the Bhakta Vatsal nature of the Lord. He's all attractive, isn't it? Lord is all attractive, but it is for us to decide whether we want him to attract our heart or our senses. The devatas, the devotees, they are attracted. Lord Hari attracts their heart by being Bhagwan Bhratya Kamakrit, by being Sarva Upaya with Ishvara. But the demons, they, you know, they their senses get attracted to the Lord. Hmm? So the devatas, they let their heart be attracted to Krishna. The demons, they let their senses to be hijacked by Mohini Murti. So we can't escape being attracted by Krishna. Which form do we want to choose? Whether we want our heart to be attracted or whether we want our senses to be attracted. Krishna has everything. So, so let us offer our heart to get attracted to Lord Vishnu. Rather, otherwise, some form of this world, which is an illusory form, might attract our attention, might attract our senses. And another interesting thing is Lord Vishnu, he wanted to take this nectar back for the devatas, but he did not enter into a moral debate with the demons. Oh, how is it? He did not offer a sermon on morality. How is it that you are usurping this nectar? Actually, this is meant. सबने मेहनत किया है. मैं शुरू से खड़ा हूँ. मैं सब देख रहा हूँ. मैं ही मंदार लेके आया था. So he could have offered a sermon and debated and argued, but you know it is said that you don't give good advice to counsel to fools. So cheaters are sometimes best handled by cheating. Lord Krishna, he gave a lot of advice to Duryodhan and company. In fact, he personally met as Shantidu. But this all of this good advice didn't ring a bell. So then Lord said, okay, now you can't expect to be treated with justice and all fairness. Now whatever it takes to defeat them, Lord Krishna employed. Hmm? Because if they are breaking the principles of the fight, you can't expect the Lord to follow the principles. So Lord defeats them through their own strategy. So this is how the chapter number 8 it comes to a conclusion with the appearance of Mohini Murti. And what is she going to do? How is she going to be the Sarva Upaya with Ishvara? How is she going to be Bhagwan Bhatta Kamakrit, fulfill of the desire of the devotees? We'll come to know in our next discussion next week. So thank you so much for joining. And any questions, reflections, comments are welcome.
When will the Congress and allies get destroyed? The demons.
I don't know. That's a different strata. We are
On the higher level.
on the spiritual and scriptural. Let us leave it to media to cover. Okay, Gopinath, you want to share something?
No, nothing much, Prabhu. Just thank you very much for such a wonderful class. It was very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Gopi, you want to share something?
Prabhuji, you said that Krishna always protects their devotees. So right now, many things are going on where devotees are also suffering. So in that case, needed your reflection.
Yes, so devotees are suffering. It was not the case that the demigods didn't have their share of suffering. They went through a lot of upheavals. They were defeated and crushed by the demons. They were, in fact, also crushed under the Mandara hill. So they went through their motions of sufferings and troubles. But at the end, if you look at the entire picture, at the end, Krishna made them stronger by this entire process of Samudra Manthan. He made them more resilient and he increased their devotion. He engaged them in service. So, externally speaking, the circumstances may appear to be very distressful even for our devotee community. There might be violence against devotees, there might be injustice, but we should always know that for individually in a devotee's life, Krishna will always intervene. Socially speaking, yes, as Kunti Maharani says, that in this world, Bhutanam yan Mithakali, she says that, oh Lord, you are the impartial observer of this universe. And we cannot blame you for all the kind of quarrel and injustice which is happening in this world. She says, Bhutanam yan mitha kali. Kali means quarrel. Hmm. All the disturbance in this world is because of this kali, the quarrel amongst people, which they have chosen by themselves. Hmm. The Lord is an impartial observer. He is Upadrashta Anumanta. He is not inciting all of that quarrel, or he is not inciting any of that violence. It is our choice. Living entities, by their karma, they create trouble for themselves and for others. Hmm. And then they pay for the kind of sins they perform. Lord simply facilitates and provides knowledge, provides association of devotees, provides sages to show the right example. But despite having all of these facilities of the scriptures, of the sadhus and the guru, if a living entity doesn't take advantage and chooses to continue with, the Kali, the quarrel of this world, then it is our responsibility. We can't blame the Lord, but definitely an individual devotee should rest assured that externally I may be going through a lot of trouble, hmm, but internally my spiritual life will be strengthened by all of these struggles, and that is the case with Pandavas also. Tell me one devotee who didn't go through struggle in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hmm? Wasn't it that Dhruv Maharaj was neglected and mm, insulted by his stepmother? Was it a very palatable experience to have for a small child? No. Tell me about the childhood of Prahlad Maharaj being thrown under the to be trampled by elephants, to be bitten by snakes, to be burnt in fire, to be thrown from mountain tops. Is it a very welcome experience? No, again, the life of Pandava is full of challenges and reversals. But Lord gives devotees these challenges and reversals. Number one, to strengthen their devotion. Number two, to show the example to the rest of the world that if with such difficulty they can practice, why can't you? Right? And to increase and advertise the glories of these devotees. So Lord has reason behind why He is doing what He is doing. Hmm. So so therefore, let's keep faith in Krishna that uh, he is Bhagavan Britya Kamakrit. He will definitely, he is Bhakta Vatsal. He will definitely protect us, and he will not leave any solution for solving our problems. With this faith, let us keep on practicing bhakti. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. Also, I had one question that it is said that whenever you see the Lord, you forget everything. So when demons see the Lord Vishnu, why they didn't change their nature?
So, प्रेमांजना चुरित भक्ति विलोचनेन संत सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति. You can see the Lord, but still not see Him, because you can see the Lord with our gross material vision. अतः श्री कृष्ण नाम आदि न भवेद ग्राह्यम इंद्रिय सेवन मुखे ही जीवादु स्वयमेव स्फुरत्यदा. So Lord Krishna, Lord's name form cannot be perceived through gross, blunt material senses. It is only through spiritualized senses spiritualized by the solve of devotion, by which we can see the Lord. So the demons saw, but they could not really uh, perceive the Lord. Whereas the devotees, even though the Lord is there in the heart, they can see the Lord, because the Lord is visible through devotion, not through mundane vision. So that is the reason although Duryodhan also saw Krishna, but he thought he is just a magician whom I can kidnap. So therefore, seeing, they say, is believing, but seeing is not believing, because even though these people, they saw God, they could not believe in God. Right? It's a proof that seeing is not believing, but believing is seeing. If you have the right faith, then that faith will let us see Krishna. Make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the session.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.